BR6 Stage 1 top dogs. Former MIBR mixed in with longer-term FaZe pedigree. FaZe Clan are one of the top contenders in the region without a doubt. Effectively the title-winning MIBR team, but with Astro in place of M-King, started off promisingly. However, while they managed to top Stage 1 of the regular BR6 season, they faltered beyond scrappy best-of-1 maps and finished 5th in the Copa Elite 6. An unimpressive game against Team 1 left their hopes for a LATAM title in the lurch. With their prior qualification as one of 6 Brazilian teams at SI 2021, there were mixed feelings from analysts about how they would do, as they had a lack of recent performance outside of best-of-1s against their local competition. Despite the doubt, their bombastic playstyle in the BR6 paid off in the short term, and we can only wonder what might have caused their inability to perform in the SI playoffs. SI group stage matches included a loss to Liquid 3-7, a win against Dark Zero 7-4, 7-2 over G2, 7-2 over Cyclops Athlete Gaming, losses against C9 and BDS, homegrown wins against Team 1 and Furia in tight 8-7 matches, and a loss against Team Empire 5-7. What could FaZe learn from these showdowns to bring to Stage 2 of the BR6 and hopefully majors later this year? Stamina, strategy, consistency. All the key ingredients these highly skilled, potential global contenders need to work on. Stage 2 could be another dominant arena for FaZe Clan to turn up, and with the cumulative LATAM standings, they could cement their position as major competing teams if they've taken time to learn from their downfalls over the last month. Catch Astro, Cyber, Bullet, Cameraman, and Souls right here, only on the BR6.
There it is. There is our first team of this final matchup of the night. It's going to be FaZe Clan to start things off. Ollie, I hear that you have some words of wisdom, maybe a prediction for how you think FaZe Clan are going to do. What are they?
I mean, I'm not sure we want to kind of attest this to either team, Chunks. I think we might just throw it out there as an overall thought for the day on this fourth and final game. I got a fortune cookie in the break. I've got some food waiting for me after the show, and this is said fortune cookie. Let me read it for you right now. There are many unexpected and thrilling surprises in store for you. Now, I am taking this pretty literally, and I am expecting to be not only thrilled, but unexpected and surprised as we move into this fourth and final game.
Final game of the evening. Gio, any predictions you have? Of course, we're obviously going to be surprised in this one, but what team are you kind of feeling is going to have a bit of an advantage coming into this one if you had to pick?
This is such a difficult one because even though Team Liquid fell flat on their faces yesterday, they've never been a team who lets losses affect them in the long term. So they're quite good at bouncing back. And I think if they are on form today, then I would pick them over FaZe. But if they turn out to not be on form, then absolutely FaZe are taking this away. And that might sound like such a cop-out to say it like that, but genuinely that's what it is. And I can't pick because I need to see how Liquid are doing.
It is a tough decision to make, 2 top teams at the end of the day, and the question is, Ollie, after Liquid's unfortunate defeat yesterday, how do you feel like they've come into this? Do you think they've reset? Do you think they've learned from any mistakes they've made, or is it going to be another tough match tonight?
It's a best of one. NIP, I think if NIP had come out today and they would have struggled against MIBR, or it would have been a close game, or they would have even lost, then we could start to build a bit of a storyline here about Liquid in that, well, they were the blip. Now, at the moment, NIP are the anomaly. They're the team that are going through and getting all the wins, seemingly. So you can't really judge Liquid too heavily for that, I don't think. And you've kind of got to give this game here as a bit of a bit more of a fair assessment and a fair judgment. Because FaZe struggled yesterday. It was a scrappy game. We had that bit of a break toward the end of it. It was a game that MIBR could have taken to an overtime, and we could have seen a different result out of that FaZe MIBR game. We didn't. But moving now into this one, Liquid, they're an experienced team. You know, these guys have been around the block. They know exactly how to deal with a loss. They're going to be able to hit that reset button. And like we say every time, if Liquid lose a week or Liquid lose a game, you always feel a little bit sorry for who they come up against next, because they do feel that wrath.
Well, we'll see who they're going to come up against next, because we have a very short profile about these teams to maybe inform your predictions.
Leak. This simple word is capable of bringing out the entire context of the last meeting between Liquid and FaZe in BR6. On that Sunday in March, after a real battle within the server, a provocation made by cameraman during the post-match interview caused indignation in the opponents. Controversy apparently overcome.
É um assunto passado, eu pelo menos não desejo nada de mal ali pra galera da Liquid, na verdade tenho carinho até com os jogadores. Foi realmente um momento do jogo ali que eu acabei tomando as dores de um parceiro meu ali na hora, fui defender um cara do meu time. Eu acho que virou mais um bordão do Rainbow Six no geral, foi de momento ali, não tem nada contra ninguém.
We can now move on to the match itself, and what a match it was. 8-7 in favor of FaZe was the score at the end of the game, with a handful of twists and turns to get us there. This kind of epic showdown is par for the course when the oldest rivalry in Brazilian Rainbow Six is reignited.
Toda partida contra a FaZe a gente sabe que é uma partida difícil porque os dois times se conhecem muito bem, a gente já se enfrenta há muito tempo e a partir do primeiro turno não foi diferente, eles conseguiram ler a gente também e fizeram algumas coisas diferentes que a gente não esperava e a gente também errou bastante, mas acredito que a gente está bem melhor agora e a gente conseguiu consertar esses erros.
Contra a Liquid de primeiro turno, foi Club também. Club é um mapa que a gente estava picando muito, então foi um counter deles também e a gente tinha que saber trabalhar em cima disso. Como eles já estavam num placar muito distante, a gente estava perdendo muito feio e a gente ainda foi pro ataque, fazendo ataques mais iolo, assim, podemos dizer, e deu certo e a gente conseguiu virar a partida.
And it is worthwhile to remember that in this last invitational, in 2 opportunities, the Cavalry countered Astro, Camera and Company and won both. 7-3 in the group stage and 2-1 in the playoffs. Will the recent superiority of Liquid be present in this new clash?
E é como qualquer outro jogo contra eles, cara. Você não pode deixar os caras ganhar espaço no mapa. Se você deixar eles ler a partida, vai ser bem difícil você conseguir recuperar.
Os jogos contra eles é sempre ali no detalhe mesmo. Sempre nos finais de segundos, assim, eles começam a atacar. Tem que saber aproveitar, pegar o Nesk que falou ali de primeira. Vai ser um jogo muito pegado.
If the famous GG leak was definitely overcome, we cannot know. But one thing is for sure, this rivalry doesn't die so easily. So stay tuned with the always exciting confrontation between Team Liquid and FaZe Clan.
So if there's one thing I can take from that video right there is that both teams are very aware of how strong each other are, but it seems like Liquid want to try and gain that map control early and not concede an inch of it because they know as soon as FaZe grab any control of that map, they are going to exploit it and make some massacre happen, honestly. Ollie, do you think that's the right strat for them?
Potentially, yeah. We've seen that FaZe are a team that do try and work off that aggression, and they are a team that aren't afraid to bring a wacky operator lineup in order to get the job done, whereas somebody like Liquid, or a team like Liquid, should I say, they have fallen into much more of a strategic mindset where they are able to temper that aggression and that beautiful raw talent that those guys have got and sort of mix it all up into a beautiful little recipe that makes them as a team. So, yeah, early advantage for FaZe is always going to be in trying to get that pick and trying to work off the back of that. Both of these teams work really well with that advantage, and I know that seems like a really obvious thing to say, but think back to when we were looking at the entry stats for the start of the day, and we've got someone like Ion from W7M there, so but we don't see W7M all that too high inside of the standings. These two teams know exactly how to work with that opening kill advantage.
Now the question is, who will be able to find the opening kill? Because it can just be a big part of the game, you know, coming in round one, who gets the opening pick, but that continues throughout the match, and I think it depends on the map a lot of the time, how important that opening frag is going to be. Speaking of which, Gio, I think it's about your turn now. Which map are we ending up on?
Well, so far, all the teams that have played each other at SI haven't gone back to the maps that they played at SI, so that rules out Consulate, Cafe, Chalet, and Coast. So we know those aren't going to be played. Now, if I'm Liquid, and I get into Liquid's head, Liquid are obsessed with playing Oregon. So it wouldn't surprise me if they went back there, even though personally I don't think it is their best map. FaZe Clan have also played there a couple of times. I'm trying to think what else. I mean, I don't think these two teams... I said Cafe actually wouldn't be in there. Villa could, just because Villa is the new Oregon and everyone wants to play there. But I don't think that would be the map that these two teams would go for. So I'm gonna say Oregon just because Liquid are just obsessed with going there, man.
It's true.
Well, we're going to find out soon enough, I'm sure. There's a couple bands coming out. Oregon's still going to be in it, is it? Oh, it is. Bonus points right there,
yeah.
Gio. Bonus points.
Yeah, well, look, it's not hard to look back at the history and be like, oh, Liquid play Oregon, Liquid play Oregon, Liquid play Oregon, Liquid playing Oregon. Crazy. It's, it is what it is.
Yep. Let's see how Oregon ends up unfolding, though, because it's the final match of the evening. FaZe Clan versus Team Liquid. Two heavy hitters. It's time for the match to start. Ollie, Gio, take it away.
Thank you very much indeed, Chunks. We are going to run you through our last game of the night here. Gio, I think it's safe to say that we may have saved the best till last. We can confirm or deny that statement at the end of this game, but we do have FaZe versus Liquid.
Yeah, I hope this is going to be the best game of the day because it should be on paper. And I want Liquid to have bounced back from yesterday. And looking at the games that these two teams played against each other during SI in the playoffs in their best of 3, Liquid did a lot better than FaZe on Cafe and Coast. But when we looked at Chalet, that was a 7-8 scoreline that went to FaZe. And in the SI groups, Liquid also did a lot better than FaZe on Consulate. So historically, Liquid have bested FaZe a number of times, but FaZe looked quite strong yesterday, and we know what they can do. And especially if Liquid are going to be playing with the flaws that they did yesterday, I think FaZe are absolutely the sort of roster who could exploit that.
I mean, yesterday we saw Liquid struggle on kind of every level, if we're being brutally honest.
Yeah.
We'll have to see if it was a blip.
Also, if Liquid lose 7-1 to FaZe today, it means their last 3 games in the BR6 would have been 7-1 losses to the other 3 top 4 teams. Because their last game on stage 1 was against MIBR, and that was a 7-1 loss.
Yeah, certainly looking at the BR6 in isolation, it starts to look a little bit ropey for Liquid.
Yeah,
and
not great.
I'm sure that they'd be sort of shoving the Copa Elite 6 medal under your nose and going, no, we did this, and we second at SI, we got this as well. Like, it's not all doom and gloom, and of course we know that. It's just always nice to poke a little bit of fun and figure out what is going on, especially inside of the best of 1 environment where Liquid have proved themselves to be very capable, but they have time here to try and do just exactly that. Now, starting off on the attack here, Flores has been removed by Team Liquid, something that they don't want to try and get involved with, and something that they're happy to try and work around for the time being.
Which is interesting because in return, FaZe Clan got rid of a smoke, so you're kind of taking one of those really key shields off the board. Which, it's an interesting one because FaZe Clan are starting on defense, so you would think that it would benefit them more. They've decided that they're going to bring Echo instead to make up for that fact. So they do have the shield, they do have the denial, but I suspect that's one way of thinking about it, is the fact that if a guy is going to make it so much easier to remove utility, then just don't have the utility in the first place. And it'll be easier when you're on attack.
Well, that's it, and they're really not bringing that utility, are they? They're also not bringing a Malusi. Now, I know that the Banshees have been adjusted so that they actually open when you go near them, and in that, you're able to shoot out the middle, so it does make it a little bit more easy to get rid of them in that sense, but FaZe, instead of leaning into that sort of slowing utility, or instead playing a clash quite aggressively, outside of bunker, outside of the double door, more toward the barrel, is where clash is going to be. Now, Nade is being threatened here by Palu. There is a player waiting to swing. That player is going to be Cyber. You wonder if it's a little bit of a bait situation. The nade comes in beautifully. Oh. Shots are landed. Palu will be downed and finished off there by Astro, but an all-important kill has gone down here.
Brutal first kill, but FaZe Clan are not afraid to take it back to them. It looks like mostly everything that is happening so far in this game is going to be in this doorway. That nade surely is going to finish off Cyber, and it absolutely does. So it's a 3 versus 2 at this point, and pretty much everything has happened in Blue and Construction. PSK and Nesk, the only 2 remaining for Liquid on the attack. and they can't really do much as far as getting rid of utility themselves. There are no nades left on the side of Team Liquid. They have hard breach, and you can hear the X-Kairos pellets being deployed. But as far as getting rid of these Surya gates or getting rid of the shield that's out, what are you going to do?
Well, Nesk is going to take the time to jump in the Gemini, gather a little bit of intel, but he didn't spot the mute jammer before doing so. Going to slow him down somewhat. The wall into electrical box is now going to get open. Souls with the pre-fire through the soft wall is able to take down Nesk. PSK 1 versus 3. He gets shut down as well. Some pesky yokai drones obviously still remaining there, as there was a plethora of information available for FaZe, and they're able to take round 1 downstairs in the laundry.
That was such a weird round. I mean, I think the opening kill onto Cameraman, that was great. And after that, I was like, cool, Liquid, they've got their in. But FaZe Clan did not let up. They continued to play aggressively in that doorway. So we had the constant backwards and forwards. And by the time it was just PSK and Nesk remaining, there was so little they could do. And when Nesk actually sent out the Gemini, I assume it was probably to get rid of the Surya gate more so than necessarily getting information. I guess we'll never know. But the oversight with not getting rid of the mute jammer hurt them, and they're back to that square one where they've just got to try and act on the walls that they have available to them without knowing where anyone is, and hope that you can push through onto the site and get the better of those 1 versus 1s. They didn't, so FaZe Clan take the first round, and they'll be moving on to meeting.
Liquid died with 3 drones in pocket as well, which isn't an ideal situation. However, they have come out top inside of our Twitch poll. 67% of you guys backing Team Liquid. I guess that stands to reason. Both of these teams have huge fan bases. Liquid do usually do pretty well inside of the poll, so makes sense. But still, I don't think it's that clear-cut. I'm really seriously expecting an overtime here between these two, and especially if Oregon plays out the way that Oregon often does.
Yeah, the Oregon games can really drag on. Though we have, of course, seen Team Liquid with their game against Black Dragons. That was here on Oregon.
Yes, that was a thing.
That was a great game, by the way.
Don't remind them of that now, Gio, please.
I love that game. It was my favorite game of stage 1, so absolutely I will. But no, Team Liquid have also had successes on Oregon. I rag on them a little bit because I don't think they're as good at Oregon as is reflected in the number of times they like to come here. But that doesn't mean that they're a bad Oregon team. They're not by any stretch of the imagination. They're not a bad team in any way. They're going to have to deal with the clash once again, and I don't think Souls, who is now taking the onus of that operator rather than Cameraman, I don't think he's positioned in a way that's going to make it quite as easy to punish as Cameraman was last time.
There's plenty of cameras out for Cameraman that he's able to try and make
Well, of course,
use
that's
of.
his job. He's a cameraman.
He is the cameraman in this sense as well, playing on the Valkyrie, but we saw him be able to place a couple outside. That's going to give them some information. I think it's C4, unfortunately for him. He's going to get a shot off the wall there into Trophy. He's still really conscious that somebody's going to be playing up on the roof. Liquid haven't really committed all too much until now, with Sexy Cake hopping on in, but he's very quickly going to come head-to-head with the clash of souls, and it just does everything to take the momentum out of the push, especially when Moringa is getting challenged so heavily from Attic.
Harley's going to be the first one to fall, and a C4 onto Moringa ensures he's down. Nesk can try and make up for it, but it's just 1 kill for him. He can't really deal with souls on his own. There's the nade. He's trying to turn around, do the 360, and Nesk can get the kill straight onto him. Once again, Clash is removed off the board, and it evens things out. Cameraman is still over in Attic, not really a part of the fray, and at some point that could end up hurting them.
Ooh, I love that.
I like that.
The little diffuser throw over into the hatch, get it down on into the site. Imagine if you could plant it first and then do that. Now we're talking. Instead, kills are going to come through from Nesk, as the diffuser is going to be on the site. Now, we say we like it, but what's going to happen now? Nesk has to drop through. He's going to be able to find himself yet another frag. He is on for an ace here inside of this round. And there's every possibility that he's going to be able to get it. Sexycake's going to be trying to get the plant down. Cyber pushes on through, and there it is. An ace from Nesk on Oregon. It's quite a duo at this moment in time. Very well known for popping off on this map. He's starting today just the same way.
I was thinking that. I was thinking that the that also did happen in the Black Dragons game.
It
you know,
did.
the one that we always see the clips of up in Attic. Yeah,
It's kind of funny that clutch, which was probably one of the best clutches we saw in the entire, or the best attempts that we saw in the entirety of Stage 1, was out of a game that was just terrible.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. So this time, at least, Liquid actually won the round in which Nesk did the big ace, the big showing off. And I did actually like the way that they went about that. They were good at clearing the top floor. They lost bodies along the way, but the way that they tipped the diffuser down into the site, so they ensured it was there, didn't have to worry so much about it being dropped upstairs and having to retrieve it. And even though it was a sticky situation once they jumped through the hatch because they knew there were defenders down there, Nesk, of course, if any player is going to be able to get those kills and guarantee Liquid the win, it was going to be him. And that was one thing I really missed from Liquid's play yesterday, is we just never got to see those opportunities where Nesk was being Nesk. In a lot of cases, he was on his own. Many of his supporting teammates had been picked off before he had the opportunity to do anything. Too much responsibility on his shoulders meant he got overwhelmed by the players of NIP who were aggressing onto him. And so we never got to see any of that magic that we know this man to do. So it's nice that in round number 2 on this game, we got a little bit.
We certainly did, and you know when Nesk is having one of those days, it doesn't come in dribs and drabs. It is one of those things that will, it's like a tap. Once he's turned it on, it doesn't really turn off. The flow doesn't tend to slow down all too much. So we've had a couple of players tonight get 18 kills. Maybe we get Nesk getting himself 20 kills inside of this one. We're getting way too ahead of myself, or at least I am. It is only round number 3, but it's always exciting to see a player really pop off like that. Liquid have another attacking round to focus on here. Again, there's going to be that outside Valkyrie camera information. This time, Valkyrie is being played by Bullet. He's going to be upstairs all the way up inside of tier 3. He's giving the game away there. Sexycake finding the opener pretty much for free there over onto Cyber. Nothing lost in terms of gaining that kill. They've not even spent a single flashbang or anything to gain that frag. Looking to take control of the top of office.
Well, they're going to be able to see directly where these players from Team Liquid jump in at the top of Small Tower because of the Maestro cam. Want to ensure that the windows are shut, otherwise you're going to get shot out like that. Okay, so there is now no longer a camera directly watching them. Vulcan shield gets popped, and Team Liquid shouldn't have to wait too long before they can get to work on the office floor and start opening that up above the site down below. And I would imagine opening up the wall into showers.
It's going to be on their list of things to do for sure. Information needs to be gathered now, and we see the Gemini going out there to try and do just that. Nesk seems to like what he saw, as he's going to go for a little bit of a peek onto the doorway. There is going to be a lot of information here available for the defenders as well, though, and we have to be mindful of that, especially when Souls can dig himself on in. It's in fact going to be Bullet to find the frag over onto Moringa for now. Showers control has been gained for the time being. The diffuser is safe. Whilst it isn't in anybody's hand, it is on the floor just right next to Nesk. He's going to find the kill onto Souls, shutting down the Alder. It's going to be a big loss, especially when you're in such a man disadvantage like a 4 versus 2. Ooh, cameraman sneaks on through, finds a frag over onto Palu. Bullet might be able to do the same here. The drone is going to stop him from pushing up all the way just yet, though. Cameraman, you can see him just looking for a little bit of intel off his friend's screen, off his teammate's screen. As PSK, he's going to try and confirm that plant. The final 2 kills come on in. Uncharacteristic, really, for Sexycake to be getting the kills as the plant is going down. That is usually his job, but him along with Nesk, they're able to pick up those final 2.
I would love for that Evil Eye to have not been shot out immediately. I think some of the information that could have been gained by it remaining up would have been really useful for FaZe Clan. That's not to say it would have lasted forever, because it's part of the checklist that we always reference to remove the Evil Eyes pretty quickly. But to just shoot it out earlier than it needed to be was a bit annoying, because I think Team Liquid had the advantage in the way that they were able to peek around the doors. I mean, we saw Nesk getting the kill onto whoever it was who was prone in the kitchen door. Team Liquid didn't even need to breach onto showers because one of the walls had been left soft, which is not unusual. It's totally normal to have that wall be left soft. But they could take showers control pretty easily, and even though Cameraman came through and got that kill, it didn't actually mean anything in the grand scheme of things. Team Liquid were basically very swift in taking the small tower control that's needed and never had a serious amount of pushback. I think part of it is also because even though they took showers control, they didn't rely on it overly. They didn't use it as a huge route to go through into dining and open up or walk through the rotate that was in there. They actually did most of that work from outside of dining, opening up the dining wall with the Hibana pellets and playing from outside of that, only sending in the planter. So it meant that they never got close enough to the defense of FaZe Clan for the defense to actually punish them.
FaZe Clan going back downstairs now to laundry. A round that was quite scrappy, really, when we saw it back in round number 1. It was held aggressively by Souls on the Clash. This time, Cameraman is going to be playing on the Clash, as there is a bit of a operator switcheroo going on the side of FaZe at the moment. It doesn't look, at least, like the Clash, for the time being, is going to be playing as aggressively as it was previously. Also on the side of Liquid, a small change is that we don't have a Nook this time. There are only 4 grenades, not 6. The Sexy Cake has opted to bring the Twitch. Maybe for the smokes, maybe to try and assist a bit of a push on through. As there's not really any pieces of defender utility that you're going to be looking to try and directly get rid of with the Twitch drone specifically.
This is an entirely different, I want to say, approach. So far, anyway, there's nowhere near the same level of aggression that we saw in the first round, even though Cameraman, once again, is playing on Clash. It's not like FaZe Clan have really changed what they've brought along defensively, but we're not seeing this constant backwards and forwards in the blue and construction doorway. Team Liquid are putting more pressure here on the tower stairs, and that's why Bullet's kind of hiding behind the corner, but this isn't normally where you would see the defender hide. I suspect it's because they know that no one's pushing in through construction, so he doesn't need to worry about the line of sight that can be held in through that door. That could give him an edge. Team Liquid do walk too far down the stairs.
Are we going to see the rare beast that is a freezer take? Nesk is certainly gathering plenty of information. Doesn't get to burn the surrogate before the Gemini is taken on out, and instead will take a chunk of damage himself as he exposes himself. Gets dropped down onto around 20 HP. Bit of a blunder that has been read into there, as FaZe are very quick to react and to change their focus. Nesk has actually got himself down here, as Sexy Cake is as well receiving a little bit of chip damage firing on in. Liquid needs some pressure from elsewhere, because so far they're just getting taken out summarily inside of that freezer. Pressure will come somewhat from the backstairs, but ultimately it is not going to be enough. Moringa, 1 versus 3, only really a matter of time. Kind of beautiful to see it all end in a electrical hatch drop, Gio, as that's where it usually ends.
Yeah, always. I commend Team Liquid for trying to go in through different avenues, because what we see a lot of in Brazil, or at least did towards the start of the year, was just sending all 5 players down the hatch drop. I guess Team Liquid didn't have 5 players to send, so there's that. You could tell that from round number 1, the way they wanted to play it was a construction push, and this time they knew they had to be the ones to change because FaZe Clan hadn't. So I think Team Liquid were the ones who were forced out of their comfort zone in that round, and you could see that, for example, by the way that Nesk was playing. down in Freezer, tried to send through the Gemini, got himself seriously injured, then he got himself killed as well. There wasn't a ton of support there for him, or really any kind of contingency plan to deal with that. Instead, Team Liquid were just trying to move in through these different routes, got picked off, and not to say they didn't get picks themselves, because they absolutely did, but when you're then going in for the yeet down the electrical hatch, and you haven't cleared out, for example, construction or whatever, you're basically guaranteed to be jumping into their line of sight. So I think it was seriously Liquid who were pushed out of their comfort zone in that round.
It's one of the things that we often see players doing when there is no time left, and it's you're just doing it to do it at that point. You know, the chance, the mathematical chance of you being able to get those kills in that short space of time, in that position, it's all just so slim, and you just end up dropping electrical hatch just to do it, as it's very unlikely that you're going to be able to really pull anything significant off from there. The pressure needs to be applied a little bit earlier on, as you say, but I don't think that either team really are going to be too concerned just yet. Liquid is still well in contention of a 3-3 split here, which is very important on Oregon. It gives you that chance on your attacks, on your defenses, sorry, to just come away with an equal share of the spoils, and all of a sudden you're in contention for that match point. So as long as they continue on the way that they have started, particularly when attacking onto this top floor, it has been something they've found success doing.
I'm super interested in Astro's decision to bring Oryx. I think that this could be a good opportunity to, if you have him downstairs and he can jump up into the kids' site, for example, towards the end, especially at a time where Team Liquid think they have control of it, that could be disruptive. The problem that we see with Oryxes a lot of the time is they don't last long enough to actually be able to execute on the plan. So I don't want to speak too soon as if this is going to be some monumental change to the way that it's played, but it's certainly something that could happen, especially given the way that we know Team Liquid like to take control of those parts of the top floor. So far, Team Liquid haven't really taken control of anything. They're still in the early stages of this round where they're trying to clear out some utility, trying to pave the way forward before they actually commit.
Moringa has got himself into Armory, and he's joined by Sexy Cake, so slowly but surely they are starting to mount a little bit of an approach. Oryx is in position there to jump up into security, but doesn't really give him much more than just going up Freezer stairs anyway. Instead, just going to make that rotation. You're really looking for that sort of hero play with the Oryx, I always think. You're looking for someone to come in from absolutely nowhere and sweep on through and pick up a load of kills, and sometimes you kind of better to have that player inside of the site. Cyber trying to make that rotation back on in. Moringa is going to be able to take out Astro, as he did try and get himself, well, he did get himself up into Armory. Eventually did get taken on down. So both flanks there really not coming to anything from FaZe. Bullet going to attempt as well, but you can't keep trying the same old things. Only 2 defenders remain now inside of attic and dormitories. It's only going to be a matter of time until they are pushed. The plant now starting to go down. Soul's going to be able to find one. There could be a yokai drone here that's going to give a bit of information, but he's not going to have the space to jump on in and do anything about it. Souls, 1 versus 3. Still relatively doable, depending on the post plant that is going to be set up here by Liquid. That reinforced wall is going to be a bit of a nightmare, and a crossfire has already been established. Moringa, the player, to pick up that final kill. As Team Liquid, they make it 3-2.
Kind of crazy as well that this was the first round in this game where a successful plant has been made, especially as we know that Team Liquid typically play very objective-based. When you look at all of the games that they play back in Stage 1 of the BR6, you can pretty much pinpoint through all of their attacks that their aim from the very start is to set up a situation where it is safe to plant, and that oftentimes leads them to taking very early plants as well. In this game, that hasn't been the case, and that's not to say that Liquid haven't been aiming for that goal. I don't think that's true at all. But the fact that FaZe have been putting up a defense that is worthy of preventing Liquid from reaching that goal. It wasn't until this round, round number 5, that Liquid could actually do it. And that might not seem like a big deal because plenty of games happen where that's the case. But I just find it kind of notable given the way that we know that Liquid like to play and the fact that it's taken them this long here against FaZe Clan.
I think the notable thing about the plants has been that it hasn't been Sexy Cake that's been getting them down. It's actually been PSK, which is kind of strange because if you think about just planting in Siege in general and then start to hone that into BR6, Team Liquid, all you can think of is Sexy Cake. He is the player with the most plants inside of Stage 1. I think he was up and around 20 odd plants. It might have been 19, 20, something like that. That springs to mind. It was a lot, basically. Main planter on the side of Liquid, and in the past couple of rounds where we've not only seen the plant go down, but the plant attempted, and more importantly, Sexy Cake's still alive, he hasn't been the one that's been sat there pressing F. Now, he does have control of the diffuser, but that hasn't been how it's been happening in the late round.
Wasn't it PSK who historically did a lot of the planting for Team Liquid? Like, if you look at the BR6 last year, I think PSK took a lot of that role on, switched it over to Sexy Cake for whatever reason it was. So it's not like it's not like giving it to Nesk, for example, where you'd be like, okay, what the hell is going on here? But it is interesting that that change has happened. Sexy Cake isn't playing a lot of the hard breach. He's not doing a lot of the hard support roles like planting, which is something that recently, as you're saying, we have not known Team Liquid to be doing. They've kind of gone back to where they used to like things being.
We'll have to see if it's a change that sticks or if it is just something that is one of those things that it's happening this way at the moment and it's just circumstantial and we're maybe just looking for something that isn't really there. It's going to be something that takes a good couple of games to really figure out if that is the case or not. But for the time being, last round as the sides currently sit, attacking onto this top floor again, you've kind of got to worry for FaZe. Now, last time they got picked off quite heavily when they were trying to make rotations back onto site. Liquid didn't really commit to clearing that roam game all too much, and it looks as though that's exactly what's happening here and now again. 2 quickfire opening kills make it 3 as Moringa makes a big entry on through into Attic. PSK bringing down the final player. 4-2 split on attack here for Team Liquid.
Ooh, if you're FaZe Clan, that's gonna sting, especially given that you returned back to the same site because Liquid won it previously and it didn't actually work. And usually, you, other than on very, very select few maps, you don't want to be going into your attacking half on the back foot. And not to mention, of course, that FaZe Clan, I believe, let me check. Oh no, I was going to say FaZe Clan did the ban that's going to hurt the attacking half the most. It was Liquid who banned Flores. The Thatcher ban, of course, is going to hurt, but FaZe Clan won't have Flores available to them, which they may have otherwise looked to bring. They'll have to do something a bit more classic, traditional. I mean, they're going for a very smoky push this time because they brought Thermite. I'm assuming they brought the smokes on Thermite. And they're bringing along Capital as well. I would assume that if they're bringing Thermite, then they're probably going to be going for a construction push because you can actually access the walls that you would like to open there. I'm trying to think if there is a better option than that, but what do you think?
I think it speaks to FaZe are expecting Team Liquid to go top floor first.
Oh, that's, yeah.
Sure, you could bring the Thermite and it could work for multiple sites inside of Oregon, but typically you would be really looking toward bringing him on that top floor. It's going to bring the smoke, so it isn't the end of the world. It has that little bit of pushing power, and with the Capitao as well, you have that disruption that you're going to be able to make use of to get yourself on in. Maybe just a little bit debated there in terms of the site choice. We'll have to see if it affects them or if Astro all of a sudden starts to beeline for a particular wall to try and get open. Most likely, for the meantime, those exothermic charges are going to be placed onto hatches. PSK gets away quite fortunately there, as a nade was attempted. Couple nades still left, nothing really to worry about here for FaZe. They do have some players up in kitchen to deal with, though.
Yeah, they are going to have to do this room clear. properly. And Moringa is at the top of the freezer stairs as well, looking out. But Sexy Cake is the one to get the first kill onto Bullet. So that's the Zephyr being taken down from FaZe Clan. Some of that utility removal, the option of which has been removed a bit. FaZe Clan are still committing to this kind of top floor in, you know, especially with Cameraman just opening up big window as well. I assume he's going to be jumping into the top floor too. I think it's smart given that they're expecting Team Liquid to be very much off-site. It just means a lot of time has to be expended basically entirely away from the site. Maybe looking to make some kind of freezer push after just surveying the freezer hatch quite a bit. Cameraman's going to be sneaking down there, gets rid of the default camera, which was active, but it gives him the opportunity to drone.
Still a little bit of information available inside of that freezer. Astro is calling for walls to be opened. A lot of work going in on this top floor, and you kind of wonder what the ultimate goal is here for FaZe. Goo mines are going to be getting placed underneath that electrical hatch. Nades are going to start to come on in. There is going to be pressure from main stairs. That's going to be from Souls. His whereabouts is known, but he does have Capital's utility to try and make something happen with. And I guess more importantly at this point, he has the diffuser. Going to try and lay down some cover and some asphyxiating bolts. Moringa with a big C4 over onto Cyber. Going to do something to stop the push. Does anybody know that Moringa is going to be laid prone there inside of Freezer? Astro and Souls have actually got themselves entrenched here into Laundry. They're going to find a couple of frags. There was a team kill in the end there as well, which is unfortunate stuff. It's going to be Moringa to pick up that final kill. Team Liquid, they're going to take their first round of the defense.
That could have gone to FaZe Clan as well. It was all in that very final gunfight that happened. Yeah, I do wonder if, you know, if FaZe Clan have brought a different operator lineup that was better suited to that site, then maybe they would have had an easier time, because as you said, it did look like maybe they were expecting a top floor. I was wondering that when I saw them bring a thermite, because I was thinking, okay, well, the main wall that you can open in close range, i.e. you don't need long range hard breach or anything like that, would be like the elbow wall or the one on electrical, but you still, it's not ideal to bring a thermite, especially if you're only bringing one hard breacher. You're not bringing a Maverick along with it, for example, because then what do you do about hatches? Ideally, you want to get all three open, and thermite has 2 exothermic charges. It's not ideal. So yeah, when you said you thought that maybe they were expecting a top floor, I was like, that makes so much more sense.
It's strange you bring up Maverick there as well, because, and I mentioned this yesterday, you get to certain points in the evening or the games and you just sort of forget that certain people exist and certain operators. Yeah. And you're like, Maverick, why haven't we seen that much Maverick play?
I know. And
it really starts, just it's bold and brass in your face. And even Sexy Cake wasn't playing that much Maverick. Sexy Cake barely played Heartbreach tonight. So kind of strange that we're not seeing too much Maverick play. It all kind of stands to reason why FaZe have brought the exact same lineup here again, bar the Ash. Cyber now knowing that he's going to be working vertically likely with those breaching charges or have a certain plan for them. But again, I do want to see which wall Astro is going to be looking to try and get on open. And for me, typically, you can get away with bringing 2 hard breachers up to this top floor. You can get away with bringing the Maverick because you get a great gun, and you get the nades, and you get the blowtorch.
I mean, we had this whole conversation yesterday about how Maverick is great for aggressing onto Attic. We just don't see Brazilian teams focus as much on Attic as we do in other regions. That doesn't mean it's never done. It's just not always a priority. The games room is very quickly opened by the exothermic charge. So there we go. There is the value from the thermite we were looking for. Nice. But one of the players from Team Liquid still present, very aggressive in there, looking for the pick. I'm sure they've backed off somewhat as Astro is right by the entrance, looking through into Attic.
It becomes now largely about how well Liquid can operate with that wall open already. That wall got opened in record time, and Astro knew exactly what he was coming up against when he needed to try and get that open. He knew there was going to be limited denial on it if there even was a mute jammer there present. Now being able to cut the site in half, it really does give quite the advantage. Of course, with the addition of Souls' utility, which we're seeing primed and ready inside of Trophy. It could be quite deadly. Moringa is going to grab the kill over onto Astro, and he picks up the second onto Bullet. You can't just try and recover the diffuser like that. 5 versus 2. Cyber and Souls have to go big, but it's looking like it could be a flawless. Cyber's like, guys, I'm meant to be the entry. I need to come in first, but no, I'm going to be taken out last. Moringa picks up 3. Liquid, they put themselves on a match point.
Big round. And I didn't expect to be in a position where we're on a 6-2 and Liquid are about to win. Not because I didn't believe that Liquid could do it, but because I didn't think FaZe Clan would be floundering this hard.
There's a lot of questions about that previous round. Astro has the smokes and doesn't cut off the line of sight in Attic. Like, Souls has the utility and then deploys it, fair enough, but it wasn't necessarily in the right position. There was nobody pressuring Attic. There was no one pressuring really big window. There was no vertical. Like, there was a lot of things. Moringa being allowed to get 2 kills was the big sort of no-no there. Like, that happening just sealed the deal. It was round Liquid from that point.
Well, if this next round is round Liquid, then they've got the entire series, and the whole thing about them coming back with a vengeance and making up for the mistakes of a pretty terrible game that they had yesterday will have come to fruition, and we will be considered geniuses forevermore.
Well, I think it'll make up for our sort of slip-up yesterday, where we said that it was going to be a good game and it was a 7-1.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, it was still a good game, but it wasn't a close game. We said it was going to be a good, close game. It wasn't that. So, yeah, if this comes off now and Liquid are able to take it 7-2, we'll redeem ourselves somewhat, I think, Gio.
I think so. I'll take that one. I'll take that win. Well, Team Liquid are going to be defending a third site. They're going down into meeting. This is a site that Team Liquid really, really like to defend, and they have a very specific way they like to play it. But given that we're seeing the slight role switches within the team compared to Stage 1, I'm wondering if they're still going to have everything done the same. You know, it was always Sexy Cake who'd play really close to the bomb chassis, make it very aggressive on the defense. Is it still going to be him who's positioned there? Are they going to have someone else there instead? Are they going to change up their approach entirely? Because that was always the Team Liquid way to play, is basically have people pushed up so close to the meeting wall that any attackers who opens it up has to walk in through a meat grinder if they hope to move into the site.
It's a position that's typically played with the dock as well. PSK playing it on that bomb chassis usually has a dock to try and keep himself alive from the nades. But in this case, no dock, which isn't the end of the world. You can still get away with doing it with somebody else, especially Maestro, as he is a beefy boy. But you've got to try and still keep yourself alive and figure out where those nades are going to be coming from, just so you have a little bit more time maybe to get yourself out of action. But initially, the push is going to come from FaZe, and expecting it to be relatively flat. They really need to take control of Attic. They really need to take control and get that wall open, but initially their focuses are going to be elsewhere, taking down Nesk, but PSK! No, he finds himself 2. Can he grab 3? Oh, just about misses the shot over onto Cameraman. Cameraman getting extremely fortunate there. Cyber now trying to push on through. Great nade tossed over into kids' dormitories. It isn't going to deal too much damage. Still, Attic control has now been gained. Cyber does have the diffuser in hand. He's going to have to try and juggle that down and maybe try and throw it down the hatch for one of the other players to really take an advantage of. There is going to be ping information coming out here as well. Palu, he's managed to retake into the hatch. He's going to be able to find himself a kill over onto Cyber. Cyber didn't drop the diffuser. Instead, he dropped himself. And now Palu has that vertical control and can continue to hold inside of the attic, knowing exactly where this diffuser is. He has to be conscious because there is enough time for him to be rotated onto. And Cameraman is going to try and make that rotation now. Bullet kind of just waiting things out at the moment, looking to get himself involved. Cameraman seeing if an angle can be found from the window into Attic, and I guess if he gets himself on the rappel, he's really going to give the game away there. The time continuing to tick on down. Sexy Cake, he confirms the kill over onto Cameraman, and Bullet, well, he waited for Cameraman to try and come to his assistance, but it's unlikely at this point that he's going to be able to get all too much going. Can't even find the first. It's going to be Sexy Cake to close things out. Team Liquid, a dominating performance here on Oregon.
Making up very much for their loss against NIP yesterday, and FaZe Clan are going to walk away with their tail between their legs, I think. Ollie, that was a great game. Despite the scoreline, it felt so electric at every moment, and there were some fantastic gunfights, some interesting strategies, and I have to take it back about not thinking Oregon was the best place for Liquid to go, because they very much proved me wrong.
It's a map they've played a lot of, isn't it? You know, they've played a lot of Oregon. You don't necessarily think of FaZe Clan and think of Oregon in the same way. Often you will think of Oregon, you'll think of Liquid and you'll think of Oregon. And it is a map that they try and bring out more than not. And I think it's just a map they like to try and play on. And guess what? It does keep things back for when they get to different events and stuff, and they're able to then flex that map pool a little bit more. We're going to bring Chunks back on in here, as I'm sure he's got something important to say about that game. Maybe something about Nesk's ace. I think that's the first ace you've been able to see, Chunks.
I feel like we saw one earlier. I might be wrong, but it was still super impressive all the same. To be able to see a player just single-handedly wipe a squad is always an impressive feat.
Yeah, that's Nesk.
The thing that there was a tweet going around when Six Invitational was going on. It was like, I think it was Lycan that tweeted it, and it was like, it's like a rite of passage to just get absolutely destroyed by a LATAM team, and like SSG went through their rite of passage sort of thing, and then other teams that were new to sort of Six Invite were doing the same.
Yeah, it was such a good performance there from Team Liquid, though, to be able to clean things up. And it didn't feel like that when the game started. I gotta say, it felt like it could have been anyone's game, and I think everyone felt like that coming into it. But Team Liquid, once they got going, there was just no stopping them, Gio.
Yeah, I totally agree with you after that first round. But the thing with the first round is that was never going to be how every round was. It was uncharacteristically aggressive. Like, it was an aggression that persisted long before it outstayed its welcome. So it went a very strange way that we weren't necessarily expecting. Maybe something that those of you who play ranked would see a bit more. And for me, it was when we got to rounds 5 and 6 where Liquid took both of the Kid Storm's attacks, and you realize that FaZe Clan were going to be coming into the second half disadvantaged.
Yep, we do have an interview with Sexy Cake, so we can talk about how that game ended up going, because it started off close, but it ended up not being the case. Sexy Cake, how did that game feel for you, man?
Yeah, hello guys, how are you guys doing? It was a good game.
Good.
Yeah, it was a good game. I think, us and FaZe, we don't play Oregon as a long time ago, so I think both teams didn't know what they are going to do. And it was a game that we were more prepared, I think. Only this.
One thing that we noticed in your game was the fact that you and PSK seem to have switched roles again. What's going on with the roles within Liquid?
Ah, okay. No. It's this just a coincidence, because Oregon is the only map that I'm not support.
Okay.
So you guys have got it down to per map where you are in terms of support or not.
Yes. Because Oregon it's a tight map. So I know some plays that we can do, and it's better for me to stay on lurker position or aggressive play.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Sorry, Jill, but I mean, that's impressive that you're able to get to that level of coordination as a team, to be able to go, some games I'll be support, some games PSK is going to be the support. We were kind of, we've got to bring it up, Sexy Cake, and I'm really sorry to do this, but yesterday, what went on yesterday?
I think we were not hyped, you know. Oh, it's just a match. We're back to Brazil. I think that was the real problem. And I'm not talking shit or saying excuses, but we didn't enter to the game to win. We entered to the game to play, and that was our mistake. Okay.
Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense. Now, I want to look at the second half of this game, because in round 7, we were kind of speculating about the operator lineup that FaZe Clan brought, because they decided to bring a Thermite, for example, to go against what you guys went down for a basement defense. Do you think that they were expecting you guys to go upstairs?
Well, if they have studied us, they would know, but I think they don't. So, because against Empire we played really aggressive and we stayed upstairs. I guess they don't saw the game. Yeah.
Yeah, learning from past engagements is such an important thing. How do you come into a game like this? How do you actually prepare to come up against a squad like FaZe, who is up there on the upper echelon, just as you guys are? Are you nervous, or is it just a case of these guys are about the same level? We've done our research. We're feeling confident coming into this.
We know that FaZe is a team that likes to make plays to different teams. Each game they do things different from another game, like really aggressive plays or plays with glass, smokes, and try to plant and things like that. And we were prepared to that. We knew that they could play with smokes. We already picked Warden. Was good for us. They couldn't do nothing. I think we were just really prepared to the game, and it went the way that we want. Yeah. To say about the PSK thing. So I'm support, and he's my backup. So he knows everything that I'm gonna do, and if he plays support, I know everything that he's gonna do. So it's really simple to help him do the support part.
Well, yep. That is sorry, I thought we were going somewhere we weren't there. But yeah, you know what? It's good to see that you guys are able to play together as a team, work as a squad, and it was super impressive to watch, especially, you know, putting on a clinic against one of the best teams in the world. Sexcake, thank you so much for joining us, man. It was a pleasure not only to watch you play, but also to get to see your insight onto the game. So thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, guys, bye-bye. Have a nice stream, and everyone that is cheering for us, thank you very much. Buy the ace from Liquid, and yeah, man, let's go, guys.
There it is. Thank you, Sexy Cake.
Well, that is it. Final game of the night is down, but don't forget that we're currently playing for points right now, which means that it comes down to who wins, who draws, how they win, that kind of thing. So it's interesting to see because it's cumulative points as well. So just getting one win doesn't necessarily affect your standings too much. I'm excited to see how the standings do end up looking in just a couple minutes after Liquid had a really strong victory. I want to ask now, Gio, at what point do you think we're going to start to see major shifts in the standings, or because it's cumulative, are we expecting things to stay relatively similar throughout the stage?
I mean, we're going to have to wait a little bit. The way that the cumulative standings work is just that how you place in the first stage is going to impact everything else after that. So that really sets the tone. And I think having major shifts is quite a lot to ask for. For example, teams that have already accrued a ton of points, everyone else below them needs to make up for those points before they can even overtake them. So it's going to take time, but just teams switching out between each other could absolutely happen. Major shifts, not so sure.
I don't know. I feel like Team 1, they've kind of come alive, I think. I've got my eye on them.
Here's the thing, Gio. What would you class as a major shift?
Like, Team Liquid coming last? I don't know.
Or would you class like from 5th to 2nd as a major shift?
Okay, if you're bringing up NIP, that doesn't count because NIP are the world champions. Like, they should be coming at the top of this. That's not a major shift.
I mean, well, it is because they finished in 5th after stage 1.
Okay, numerically it might be, but like in terms of expectations, no, I'm sorry, that doesn't count.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we got that disclaimer out of you. Because yes, I think there are going to be some big shifts. You just can't ignore that though, can you? 6 points in 2 play days from NIP. It's going to do so much for their standings, especially when you look at the teams that are above them and the teams that have played a couple of games as well. You think FaZe, 1-1, lost 1. Liquid, 1-1, lost 1. MIBR, lost 2. So all of a sudden, it's not only the fact that they were able to gain those points, but it's the fact that they were able to then leapfrog players, teams that didn't do as well as they could have done in their games.
You know, we talk about leapfrogging, and it's something that we definitely saw that game, because FaZe Clan, you see, they started off with the round 1 win, but then Liquid just put on a show for us, and they picked it up big time, Gio.
Yeah, I mean, Team Liquid, we said that it wasn't going to be a long-standing problem. This certainly wasn't a fundamental issue with Team Liquid. And as Sexy Cake just said in his interview, that they just weren't hyped for yesterday. They weren't in the headspace, and they've come back today feeling ready, and they've proven what results they can get as a result.